Now, our area is very welcoming,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but there are other areas that are still not super welcoming. But if
Okay.
you then look at the agents who are top producers, it's disproportionately LGBTQ.
Who are the higher producers?
Yeah. I was at a Pride event a few days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I just turned to my colleague and I was like, do you remember 8 years ago when we just thought we were never going to be allowed to get married?
Hi, Craig. Thanks for meeting me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
Appreciate the
you're,
video.
well, thank you for asking me.
Um, so for those who are listening who may not know, I just sort of wanted to clarify that, Keller Williams International has many what we call communities, which are sort of like segments of the company, one of them being diversity, equity, inclusion. It's the perfect one to be talking about during Pride Month. And I do know that the Rainbow Network, I guess, is sort of
Hmm.
a sub community of the overall Diversity, Equity, Inclusion community. Is that
Yeah,
correct? I mean,
yeah,
do I
that's
have the
correct.
structure correct?
Yeah, it's part of it. So
Okay,
there's the umbrella DEI, and then Rainbow Network is part of it.
gotcha, gotcha. So, from what I know about the Rainbow Network in the past, what I often heard about their mission and what they do was a lot for them was mainly for the members,
Hmm.
networking, supporting each other, talking about challenges, etc., referrals,
Hmm.
right? Now I'm hearing more about what they're doing for all agents. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to address that because that's what I see as the biggest difference this Pride period for KW
Hmm.
than in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely reaching out at this point. So number one, the Keller Williams Rainbow Network, their mission, I think here's the mission statement is an international network of KW LGBTQ associates, staff, and leaders. The Rainbow Network takes pride in our company's mission and unique culture with a commitment to build diversity worth celebrating.
Hmm.
Now, what I love about it is that just with any type of community, there are very different aspects that every community has to deal with. I was at a Pride event a few days ago,
Hmm.
and I just turned to my colleague and I was like, do you remember 8 years ago when we just thought we were never going to be allowed to get married? Like, that's just
In my
something.
mind, that was a lot longer ago, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
No, it's not that long ago.
Hmm.
Like, now we think it is, but it's really very short amount of time. And so these issues are still very much prevalent. So the Rainbow Network has started reaching out, and
Hmm.
there's a course now that I'll be teaching next Wednesday, the
Hmm.
21st, at our brokerage called Proud to Be KW.
Right.
And it's
I'm
going
so
to
happy that you're teaching it, by the way.
Oh, I know. This is going to be hilarious. So the whole point is that it's going to be covering the history of the movement,
Hmm.
really starting, I know it goes well before, but really starting with Stonewall and leading up to now.
Okay.
And it's going to cover a lot of socioeconomic things. And I'm also going to bring in some of the recordings I made that surrounded LGBTQ businesses
Gotcha.
because as soon as I started to learn about that, I realized just how all-encompassing real estate is to the world.
Hmm.
So another major thing about that course that I'm teaching next week is that it's not a ton of slides, but it's a lot of stuff to unpack.
Hmm.
And my hope is then to open it up to people in the room who have questions who may never have had to deal with this sort of thing. So these are the type of things that we really need to be talking about. Now, our area is very welcoming,
Hmm. Hmm.
but there are other areas that are still not super welcoming.
Hmm. Right.
Like, it
And
might be against the law. It might be against the law to be discriminatory, but that doesn't mean they're welcoming.
right. Is the course focusing on all agents handling clients in the LGBTQ community,
So
or I'm sure it goes beyond that, but I'm sure that's a part of it. Yes.
I think from how I'm going to be approaching it, it's very much educating other agents about this community.
Okay.
And like one of the little facts we're going to be pointing out is that as a general rule, LGBTQ, the average person who's looking to buy is actually making slightly less than the heterosexual couple as a general rule. But if
Okay.
you then look at the agents who are top producers, it's disproportionately LGBTQ.
Who are the higher producers?
Yeah. The ones who are in our realm capping. It's like, I think it was like 9% of all agents who are LGBTQ are capping, opposed to like, I think it's 6 or 7 for non.
Interesting. Do you have a thought behind that and why?
Well, I can jokingly say that it's because all the little gay boys think they need to be over successful.
Okay.
I can jokingly say that.
Okay.
I don't actually know. That is something that I've been delving into to learn a little bit more about. Now, it is in the course some of the
Is there a
things.
correlation between the welcoming communities and luxury properties in those welcoming communities? Like I'm thinking cities on the coast.
That is a very excellent question that I'm hoping to kind of open up to everyone and ask that question, because other people have lived through this
Mm-hmm.
and have experience in that. Now, the course is really going through the history and then how to then go forward and make sure that you understand, number one, that it's not a monolithic community.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of diverse opinions, but how to interact and how to understand the vocab.
Sure. And how to ask the questions.
One of my favorite ones is people asking pronouns. Like, it's very, very simple. To me, like, number one, use social cues. Like, just use your brain. But if you truly need to know,
Mm-hmm.
this is how I say it. If I want to know what they are, I will say, my name's Craig, he, him. And if they want to then say, oh, my name is Sam, and then say their pronouns, cool. And if they don't, let it go.
Okay. And then
So
you've
that's
adjusted.
going to be part of the conversation that we're going to have.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And this is the first time this course has been developed, right? This is the first Pride Month that it's out there for
I
us
believe
to
so.
have in the market
Because
side.
I've only been seeing it coursing through our system in the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're updating it. I think they updated it last week.
Gotcha. I'm so excited that you're teaching it. Tell me more about the Rainbow Network. What are resources that have been available to you? How are you networking inside the Rainbow Network?
So beyond like having the Facebook pages and all that stuff and being part of the community,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to the events that are being held by KW, there's all the mixers and things like that. And it's very close knit because we all know what it feels like to go through this
Mm-hmm.
in our own colorful ways.
Sure.
And that sometimes means when, like there was a stat that said there's 1,800 members, there was $1.4 billion in referrals. It's all these things because sometimes people want to know that the agent who's helping them has gone through what they went through.
Sure.
Like, I was trying to explain to someone the other day that we still, for a lot of times in the community, you still have to, through weird legal loopholes, adopt your kid.
Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about that for sure. So
And like, that still blows people's minds.
yeah, it blew my mind when I learned about it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So from a fair housing standpoint, I mean, this may be going a little bit deeper than the class,
Mm-hmm.
but you know how as agents, we really can't answer the questions, how are the schools
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Does that come into play at all with LGBTQ clients?
Oh my God, all the time. Especially because, and if they're from way out of state, okay, they don't know what's going on in the community. But I'm telling you, the people who are coming from like New York, they know the towns. They know Montclair is a
Right.
progressive.
So they don't
Like,
need to say to you what's the percentage of queer in the community?
Oh, well, for that, there's definitely online resources and things like that I can point to them. Number one answers when someone asks about schools, I'm like, give them a call.
Right.
Ask what their resources are.
Gotcha.
That's the number one way.
Same with anything, any touchy questions that are asked where you can't directly handle.
Well, not just that, but like, especially when they ask about the schools, I was a teacher for 4 years, and I can tell you what it was like now 2.5 years ago, but I can't give you the super up to date.
Right. Got it.
Give them a call. Like,
got it. Okay. What else should we know about this class?
well, number one, you should be there.
Of course.
Number two, it's going to be a safe space for people to ask questions and not get their heads bitten off. Like, you can't offend me. Like, ask the question if you don't know. Everyone's going to be in the room, and they all need to understand that it's a safe space to ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask, but didn't know. Because there's going to be some confusing things talking about identity versus biological sex versus like all that can be super confusing. You don't have, and here's my number one thing. I hope at the end people come away with a better understanding, and that you don't need to understand it perfectly. Just respect that there's different things out there and be respectful of it.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. And I'm really glad that they've developed this course to be able to have somebody in each market center teach it.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for you, and I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. So let's just wrap it up for today with, when is the course?
Well, I'm looking it up as we speak. It's June 21st at 3:00.
All right. So for anyone who's around, it'll be at Keller Williams Suburban Realty in Livingston, 3:00 on June 21st.
And would it be okay if we record it so people can have the recording in case it's time for them?
I'm going to be hilarious and out there, but it's going to be fine.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Craig.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.